I've been off social media nearly 3 years, and when I tell you it has made my life so much better, I'm not lying. And I was in deep, you guys. I can't begin to explain how deep I was in my social media rabbit hole. It's been quite the journey to get to where I am today, where I can share this story with you. But before we get into that, my name's Kate. I'm another girl with a microphone. I'm here sipping chamomile tea for tonight. I first want to just say a quick thank you. I set my subscriber goal for the month of October to 12, and as of today, I'm at 32, and that just has blown my mind. So thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you could find some value in this. But to start at the beginning with my journey on social media, I think that it's important to know I grew up in a time when social media was all starting to come out for the first time. I was in middle school when people started using their emails and saying that they were slightly older than they were. I think we had to say we were 13, and all us 12-year-olds were let's just set our birthdays back a year to get onto Facebook. And then Snapchat became a thing. Instagram soon followed. And it was the Wild West. Facebook, when I was in middle school, it was a lot of my status for truth is, a lot of funky tagging each other in these pictures where it was a group shot and it'd be the cool girl, the jock, and you would tag everyone in your grade in school on this random Facebook cartoon picture. Instagram was oversaturated flowers and sepia tone over sunsets. It was very silly, but it got all of us engaged and it got all of us on it. Then things took a turn as soon as these platforms wanted to start to monetize more. And as soon as they start monetizing, these platforms start to design to become more and more addictive. Because I had been on it and starting to test out all these things, when it was that Wild West of the early internet app era, I was caught up in it like everyone else was. But I think that I had more of a problem than some other people around me. And I had journeys with each of the platforms that I was addicted to. Snapchat was one of my first ones to realize it had become a problem. I was posting unnecessarily at all times of day, and really you get to this point where you're who am I living my life for now? If my life has become this, projection, this version of myself that I'm putting out there for other people to see. I was so swept up. I would be posting constantly. I couldn't go to a social function, an event, a party. I couldn't go without taking Snapchats and basically live streaming what I was doing throughout the day for the people that I had on there. And while it was kind of fun, you connect with some people, it also was weird because Snapchat was this space where people it was a lower barrier of entry to maintain relationships with people. So I would find that the people that I was only really friends with or talking to on Snapchat were people who didn't really value to actually have connections with me, but they were the type of people who would, slide into your DMs at 3 a.m. And that also really started to trip me up. I just was have I devalued myself to the point where I'm just putting out this version of myself for everyone to consume, not really keeping anything private to myself. And other people are now thinking that this is an opportunity to take advantage of my openness by only maintaining this very limited scope of our relationship. Snapchat was the first one where I realized I need to pull back from this. I have a problem. I need to pull back. So Snapchat for me was the easiest to go, and it was the first one to go. I think it was after my senior year of college, so first year post-grad, I realized I also got to a point where I was I started living my professional life. I was, in the real world, whatever that means now. And I was clinging on to this version of myself from college and continuing to post, and all my friends had scattered all over the place to different areas. And I just realized I wanted deeper friendships than what I was getting on Snapchat, maintaining these weird minimal relationships by occasionally responding to each other's Snapchats that just wasn't cutting it for me. I wanted more depth. And so Snapchat was probably the easiest and the first one to go. And as soon as I did that, deleted Snapchat, that kind of set off a domino effect for me to start to analyze and recognize my own relationships with all the different platforms that I was also on. The second one to go, and the one that I had by far the most problem with, was Instagram. I had a big Instagram problem. It's I feel shameful for me to admit now that I have been so far removed from it for a pretty long time. But oh boy, I was hooked on Instagram. I would spend, genuinely, I think that my screen time a day would sometimes get up to 8 or 9 hours, and I swear that half of it would be on Instagram. I can't make those numbers up. It was really, really unhealthy. And Instagram had a couple interesting ways of affecting me. There, of course, is the classic, I'm comparing myself to other people. People are showing these highlight reels of their lives, and it's not very realistic. And you see the greatest hits of people's lives. And then you're comparing your day-to-day life with other people's, the most exemplary, examples of their life that they want to put out there for the world to see, the luxury vacations when they're looking great, when you've edited yourself. Social comparison, that definitely impacted me a lot, especially when I was younger, actually in college and in high school for sure. I would edit, I'd Facetune. I was a Facetune girl. I would Facetune. I have acne issues. I would Facetune all the acne out. This one's actually kind of embarrassing for me to admit, and I haven't really told many people this. In college, I started getting in shape and I felt really good about myself and about my body. However, what I would do to make myself look even better was I'd start to shade in my little flabs basically and make them look like abs. And that's kind of just a silly aside that I just remembered while I was spewing it. So yeah, I basically was editing myself, which that is not healthy. Oh my goodness, body dysmorphia issues were very real for a while there, because you also now have to maintain this image that you've put out onto Instagram. So the issues with comparison, the issues with wanting to edit yourself to make your own version of your life look, more enviable to other people, that was definitely a real thing that I was encountering. But my biggest issue became, it's hard to describe, but I really was addicted to stalking people, I guess. The people that you don't really know, maybe you've met once or twice. Maybe it's someone's cousin. Maybe it's someone's ex. Those were the people that for some reason I got fixed on just being interested in what these people's lives looked like. For some reason, these second, third degree separation people from my life were like celebrities to me. I was like, what are these people up to? And that was bizarre. In retrospect, what a weird thing to become addicted to. But again, these platforms, they intentionally make it addictive. They make it really easy to fall down that rabbit hole. And for some reason, in addition to already comparing myself to the highlight reels of my friends and my people that I did know, I started doing that as well with these people that I did not really know or truly had never met before. And that was extremely strange for me to realize. So I had started having a sense of that issue that I had with Instagram. And then I think the final thing that really pushed me over the edge with Instagram was I realized that I had started doing a lot of things simply to get an Instagram out of it. And this actually had pros and cons, because I, through that experience, learned a lot of things that I actually truly like to do now. For example, the first times that I started going to national parks and going out hiking, I did this. I'll say it now that it's far enough removed from me that I think I can admit this. First times that I went to national parks, went hiking, went outside, went to the mountains, that was to get Instagram pictures. I can't lie about it any longer. I genuinely liked to get some nice pictures of these beautiful places and me looking all naturey and outdoorsy and post it there so people would think that I was naturey and outdoorsy or something. And turns out I actually did really like to do that and get outdoors and hike and camp. Like I learned through forcing myself to do it for the gram that I actually enjoyed doing it at a deeper level. But that tripped me up. The fact that I was doing things in order to build content off of it, that really didn't sit right with me at the end. And I took all of these different ways that Instagram was making me feel, the way that I had begun to relate with other people and how Instagram was impacting that. And then also the way that Instagram was impacting me as to what sort of activities I did and my own relationship with myself. All those things came together, and I got to this point where I was like, I need to get rid of this. It's not serving me anymore. I also had so many people on there that we didn't need to be friends anymore. We didn't need to stay in touch. There are people in your life where you cross paths in life, and it's okay if you drift apart. You don't have to have this big social circle that you're constantly keeping up with. Like that's something that I realized. I'd rather be more intentional and catch up with people and have like a true conversation over the phone rather than maintaining odd parasocial relationships with people that I knew in middle school and have not seen for 15 years now. Like that didn't sit well with me at the end. So I deleted Instagram now around 3 years ago, and it has been so fantastic for me. That's been one of my favorite ones to get rid of. I will say my one comment here, as a person who loves to travel, a lot of the world utilizes Instagram and WhatsApp Meta products to message each other. So that is the one time that I ever come across where I'm like, oh shoot, it would be nice to have an Instagram. It's when you're traveling and other people rely on Instagram to have conversations with each other and you can't be a part of it, or you have to be the one who's like, hey, do you guys have WhatsApp? Like, can we use that instead? That's a time that not having Instagram becomes challenging. Actually, second one is businesses. Certain businesses, their whole profile is on Instagram. So if I want to check if the coffee shop has the hours online, or if I want to see who's coming to town at a certain concert venue, sometimes they focus their business a lot on Instagram. So those are two times that it becomes a little bit challenging. Otherwise, it has been such a blessing. It's brought me so much peace of mind to not be constantly comparing myself to other people, to know that when I'm doing things, I'm doing it intuitively. I'm intentional about the things that I do in my life. Every step that I take, every decision that I make, that was a fun rhyme, all of that, it's intentional, and I'm taking agency, and it's not driven by any sort of external motivation or image-based, appearance-based inclination that I need to do things, which I feel like Instagram was contributing to. The final one that I had this arc of a journey with was TikTok. I was very much in deep on TikTok. And I think TikTok really changed a lot when I was on it. I joined TikTok when everyone did, March 2020, right as I was also joining the company to work there. So I had every excuse to just constantly be on there because it was both for play and for work. So I was very ingrained. I spent a ton of time on there. I was making a lot of little videos. I had like a couple go viral, and that gets to your head in its own way. It started out very innocently. I really enjoyed the early days of TikTok. It felt very uplifting, very positive, very fun. And then something started to just take a turn. I think that it outgrew itself almost. And there started to be a lot more dark content. Things would kind of spiral once you were, deep in a scroll on a certain topic. It would be pushing more interesting, kind of more serious stuff. And I feel like in general, it lost some of its charm for me. I also had a couple situations where people would actually, like, this is also something I never really spoke about on TikTok. One day I kind of stopped posting videos because I had two back-to-back situations where people essentially said things along the line of, I know where you go because you post about it on TikTok all the time. So like I could find you and like we could meet. And usually these were older men. And I was like, whoa, I might be sharing too much out there if people can identify where I go and what sort of patterns that I have based on like the little vlogs that I would make. So that was a trippy one to have to navigate and realize like, oh, maybe I'm oversharing on this platform. And again, some people take advantage of you if you're open on a platform, which is unfortunate. But TikTok, what really drove me over the edge was the time suck of it all. The time suck for the small bite of attention that it is. The fact that I could spend maybe 2 hours on the app a day at my heyday watching videos that are all like 10 seconds long. When you do that math, it's like no wonder that our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And then ethically, working at TikTok, I realized that I was selling the fact that this platform and our platform that I was a part of, we were selling this to advertisers as this great thing. Like, oh, look, you can, you have this super engaged audience. People are spending over 92 minutes a day on the platform. And I was doing, like, eventually I got to this point where I was doing the math in my head and was like, they're spending over an hour and a half a day on average on this platform that's 10-second videos, 3-second videos, 20-second videos. Like, we got to think about what this means ethically, beyond the fact that it's great for our metrics or to sell to advertisers. Little talking break, sorry. Better. So with TikTok, I was just in way too deep because I couldn't escape it at work either. I was constantly doing it for work and it was fun and poppy at the beginning. And then it got to this point where I was like, whoa, this has taken up too much of my life. This has really started to consume my time, my energy. It was all too much constantly. And that was the final one to go. That one, it's probably been about 3 years. They were in pretty quick succession when I decided to delete all of those 3, which were my problem 3. That was a tricky one because I had some friends who really liked some of my content. Like, it was fun to create content. That's why I'm kind of hoping that with YouTube again, I can create content again in a way that's a little bit more aligned with myself now as a person. But once TikTok was gone as well, and Instagram and Snapchat, it was a weight off of my shoulders like you wouldn't believe. I just really started to gain a lot of clarity about myself, about what I truly liked, about who my friends really were. Because when you're living this life for the gram, for social media, you don't really realize how many people might be in your life only because it's easy and only because they can maintain that relationship by occasionally sending a fire emoji to your Instagram story. What I have found is that I definitely am connected to less people than when I was on social media. But the people that I am connected with are just much deeper and much healthier, more real relationships that I have. Because to maintain a friendship in real life, off of social media land, you actually have to put in some effort. You have to call them. You have to say, hey, it's been 3 months. What's been going on with you, girl? And that is such a fun thing to do when you truly don't know what the other person has been up to. If you had social media, you can kind of pretend like you know what's going on in each other's worlds just because they occasionally will update something and you see each other's pictures here and there, or maybe they send you a Snapchat and you feel like you're still connected. When really you're growing so much and like you have no idea what's going on a emotional level, on a real level with these people that you have these social media friendships with. I think by taking back both the time, because it's also truly a time suck, it's addictive intentionally, as someone who's worked with them, it is intentionally addictive, and also learning yourself a little bit better and having more clarity into your true desires and wants and who your friends really are. These are some really important things that I was able to learn only because I got off of social media. And this isn't to say that it is an easy thing to do, because it is hard. Before I actually deleted everything, I had a couple rounds of, let me just deactivate for a month and see how it feels. Then I'd reactivate it and I'd be addicted right again, would be back at it. High screen time, all of that. I made another video on just general tips that I had that helped me when I was slowly starting to wean myself off of social media. But it was a process. You have to kind of wean yourself off. And then for me, at the very end, had to go fucking, excuse me. I haven't cursed on my channel yet, I don't think. And go cold turkey. I still am tripping up over the fact that I just did that. Wonder if I'll leave this in or not. We'll see. I just had to go cold turkey, and that at the end of the day is the only thing that worked for me. And those first couple weeks, months after you go cold turkey off of these apps, it's an interesting period where you realize who is going to reach out to me. Which one of my friends are still going to be friends with me and make the effort to actually text me or actually pick up the phone and call me or FaceTime me? This is like just an exploratory time once you've deleted it to see how it impacts your daily routine, your daily life. Realize I have all of this time back. What am I going to do with it now? That's another interesting one. Once you have that time suck off your plate and you have all this free time, you have time to do everything. When you're addicted to social media, you can make so many excuses to not do things. You know, I wasn't reading, I wasn't creating, I wasn't doing anything when I was addicted to social media. Now that I have all this time, I can use it. Like, I can take agency and realize, oh my gosh, I can do things again. Like, it's really crazy. Like, you're meant for more than what you are when you're just scrolling social media. This is one final tangent before I wrap this video up because I feel like I've rambled quite a bit. Something that really aggravates me about this current era that we're in of the social media landscape, now as someone who's been away from it for 3 years, I think it's gotten worse, and I think it's almost intentional. And my biggest pet peeves now when it comes to social media consumption are people using things like, oh, it's just like TikTok brain rot, or like, oh, I just have to rot on a couch and watch TikTok for a little bit. The fact that we are using, and we've been trained to use, social media and platforms like TikTok to decompress from our daily lives, this is something I think that it's intentional. It's just part of this addictive nature of wanting to monetize our eyeballs. And it's making people less individualistic. People take action less, if that makes sense. It makes it really easy to be lazy and kind of hold yourself back from living life to the fullest just to consume content all day long. I don't really know where I was going with that, but that's a trend that I really am wary of and I keep my eye on, because I think that it's really indicative of this world that we're living in today and how dangerous and detrimental it can be, but in these like really subtle ways that are accepted by society. I feel like I could go on more about that in a separate video. So if you've made it this far, this was my first time doing a truly non-scripted video. I hope that something was valuable from it for you. I could really go into these in much more depth when I do script the content more, but I wanted to try and speak from the heart on this one because it's something I am really passionate about. As someone who has been in it deep and had it hold me back from living my life and made me have this really messed up relationship with myself and people around me. Now that I'm off of social media, it's been able to open my eyes to so many different things. And I think having the added experience of working at one of these really highly addictive social media platforms gives me a different perspective and maybe even a deeper perspective of like the backside, the flip side that is so harmful of these platforms. If you're considering deleting your social media, I highly encourage it. Truly been one of the better decisions of my life. Come on in, the water's fine. We, as the non-social media people who live under a rock, that's what it sometimes feels like for me anyway. Like I sometimes feel so removed from people that I'm living under a rock, but God, living under my rock is peaceful. I will tell you that much. It's peaceful and I enjoy it. And come live under the rock with me. I hope you found some of this content helpful today. Like I said earlier in the video, my subscriber goal for the month of October was 12. I'm now at 32 as of today. So if you found this helpful, really blow my mind even more and subscribe to follow along. I talk about career, travel, relationships with technology, financial literacy, all that sort of stuff on my channel, and basically just things that I'm interested and passionate about. So I hope that you enjoyed this and stay tuned for more. My name is Kate. I'm another girl with a microphone. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll talk again soon. Bye.